Also known as Aurora Monroe, Storm has gained quite a huge fan following while working alongside teams such as the X-Men, the Avengers, and Fantastic Four. She was first introduced into giant-sized X-Men comics in 1975, and she soon joined the team after Professor X discovered her on the streets of Cairo. She displayed a wide range of abilities such as psychic powers, weather manipulation, flight, and so on, and she is considered to be one of the most powerful mutants of all time. Over her span of career, Storm has also dabbled in several relationships, and we all know about her affiliation with the Black Panther. Today, we will explore every major love interest in her life and tell you all about them. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Forge. Known for his technological prowess, Forge was a master inventor and engineer who had created several fascinating pieces of technology. He initially joined the US Army and later worked as an advanced weaponry developer with them, where he notably invented a device that can inhibit a mutant's abilities. In fact, it was this very device that tied him to Storm, and this neutralizer device was once used to depower her while she was leading the X-Men. This kick-started their long and complicated relationship, and Forge became her long-standing love interest in the 80s and 90s X-Men comics. While Forge had accidentally fired a ray that neutralized Storm's powers, she did not take it too kindly and unleashed her wrath upon him. Over the course of their story arc, the hatred turned into love after they found themselves trapped in an alternate dimension for more than a year. Once they managed to return to Earth 616, Forge proposed marriage to Storm, but he withdrew his offer after she refused to leave the X-Men for him. While Forge moved on with Mystique, he remained to be Storm's longest relationship, and he even played a big role in helping her get her powers back. Unfortunately, they could not make the relationship work long enough for it to turn into marriage, especially since Storm's loyalty lies with the X-Men more than any romantic partner. Black Panther. Also known as Wakanda's former king, T'Challa, or Black Panther, had quite a sizzling romance with Storm. In fact, their love story began when they first ran into each other as kids when T'Challa was being courted by a mercenary. After working together to defeat him, Storm and T'Challa decided that they were better off together, and they stayed by each other's side until T'Challa turned to Wakanda to focus on his princely duties. While he became the king of Wakanda, Storm ruled over the mutant world and led the X-Men, but neither of them could forget what they had. They eventually got back together when T'Challa's mother sent him on a mission to find a wife in the hopes that he would convince Storm to get back with him. Soon enough, T'Challa proposed to her, and their wedding was a magnificent affair where humans, mutants, superheroes, and villains kept their differences aside to celebrate their union. The two of them had a happy marriage and even went on a diplomatic world tour to strengthen their allied relations and assess their rival nations. However, a dark cloud hovered over their relationship in the wake of the Avengers vs. X-Men story arc, wherein Namor unleashed the flood upon Wakanda after being controlled by the Phoenix Force. While Storm did not condone his actions, T'Challa did not bring himself to accept that one of the X-Men had destroyed his nation, while his wife continued to be affiliated with them. They eventually ended up divorcing, but they remained friends, and Storm even helped him rebuild Wakanda after the flood. The two of them also had a child in an alternate reality, and fans continued to root for them for the longest time, even though they had next to no chance of getting back together. Cyclops. Earth 12-245. While Storm and Cyclops are colleagues who work together in the X-Men in the mainstream reality, they have formed a romantic connection in an alternate reality on Earth 12-245. This reality had quite a bleak future wherein the Earth had literally cracked into two to form divisions between two opposing mutant factions. While the Earth was quite literally being torn apart by the fights between the X-Men and Magneto, Storm and Cyclops found comfort in each other's company. Unfortunately, they did not get much time together, as Professor X worked alongside Storm to create a machine powered by mutant energies. This machine was designed to run on mutant energies to keep the Earth from falling apart, and Cyclops was one of the first mutants who volunteered to give up on his powers. Unfortunately, the machine siphoned off too much of his energies and killed him, while Storm was left all alone. Wolverine. Storm and Wolverine have always had some friendly, almost flirtatious banter in the comics, but they solidified their relationship in the most shocking circumstances in the Uncanny X-Men comics. Most fans did not expect to see them paired together, especially after Storm had recently divorced T'Challa. However, this does not mean that they lacked chemistry, and we can certainly spot several romantic undertones in their conversations across their story arc. Their romance was also been brought up subtly in the X-Men movies, and it was first openly discussed in Wolverine and the X-Men comics after T'Challa annulled his marriage to Storm in the wake of the flood on Wakanda. Wolverine stayed by Storm's side and helped her deal with her divorce. The comic further revealed that Storm and Wolverine had often been drawn to each other in the past, and they had an on and off relationship whenever they were both single throughout their X-Men story arcs. In line with this information, it only made sense that Wolverine found himself involved with Storm after her divorce, and they shared a brief romance until they decided to end this cycle and remain friends once and for all. Yukio. First introduced as a female ninja, Yukio appeared as one of the supporting characters of the X-Men. She was known for her expertise in Japanese martial arts, and she was initially known for forming a deep connection with Wolverine in the early 80s. However, her most serious relationship with an X-Man was with Storm, even though they were initially portrayed as friends. Eventually, it was established that their bond went deeper than friendship, and Yukio's carefree, rebel persona was quite an adequate fit against Storm's most serious demeanor. After Rogue joined the X-Men, even after she harmed Carol Danvers, Storm questioned whether she wanted to remain an X-Man and despised Charles Xavier for the way things had turned out. She also believed that she was no longer the person she thought she was, and it was at this point that Storm first made acquaintance with Yukio. Yukio helped Storm come to terms with her life, and they also shared a near-death experience that only brought them closer. While Yukio seemed quite carefree, Storm was intrigued by her personality, especially since she had never had the luxury of being so free with her powers. As they spent more time together, Storm started embracing uncertainty and even loosened up a bit, and she truly underwent a transformation that allowed her to live more freely in Yukio's company. Angel, Wolverine, and the X-Men. Storm and Angel have never really been involved in the X-Men comics, but they did share a brief romance in Wolverine and the X-Men animated series. In this alternate reality, Wolverine was the head of the school, while Warren Worthington, aka Angel, joined the X-Men. Soon enough, he got acquainted with other X-Men members such as Cyclops, Iceman, and Beast, and he then stayed with them for several years. During this time, he came across Storm, and the two developed a close relationship that lasted a long time. They would often train together, and Angel was quite disheartened after the X-Men's disbandment. Nevertheless, he remained in close contact with Storm and then got into an accident where he damaged his wings while they were flying around. Angel's father stepped in and ordered him to remove these wings, and Mr. Sinister then targeted Angel and took him in. He transformed him into Archangel and then went on a villainous story arc where he attacked Worthington Labs. In a shocking twist of events, Storm stepped in to fight against her former lover, and she knocked him out with one of her lightning bolts. Dr. Doom. During his story arc where Dr. Doom worked alongside Arcade to trap the X-Men in the killer amusement park known as Murder World, he crossed paths with Storm and instantaneously developed a massive crush on her. While Storm does have a striking personality, what makes people fall for her, this pairing raised a few eyebrows as Doom was nowhere close to being allies with the X-Men. However, he was known to be extremely intelligent, and Storm did have a tendency to fall for geniuses around her. While Doom went to great lengths to express his crush, Storm ended up considering his proposition, much to everyone's surprise. While all of this sounds cute and wholesome, we must not forget that Doom was known for forming devious plans, and he soon showed his true colors. As it turned out, he presented himself as an ally to convince Storm that he liked her, but this was only a part of his plan to get closer to his enemies. While they had a whirlwind romance, Doom's schemes were soon unraveled, and their electric connection was over before they knew it, as they ended things amid a heartbreaking clash. Beast, Ultimate. While Storm and Beast have only worked in close proximity in the X-Men team, they shared a greater bond in the alternate universe set within the Ultimate comics. In this timeline, Storm joins the X-Men in an attempt to gain control over her powers, but she ended up falling for her teammate Henry McCoy, aka Beast. The two ended up in a tumultuous romance that was quite on and off, but it did not impact the team, especially since they were younger in this universe. Eventually, Beast ends up ruining the relationship by doubting Storm's feelings and even accuses her of liking him only due to Professor X's manipulation. Beast's lack of confidence in Storm's feelings was the breaking point for their relationship, but Storm continued to harbor feelings for him until he was surprisingly killed during a mission. This greatly affected Storm, who struggled to cope and even changed her appearance drastically to get a punk-inspired look in the wake of his death. Quicksilver, AOA. Storm has not shied away from kindling romances with villains, and Quicksilver was one of these anti-heroes who had been involved with her. They got together in the Age of Apocalypse storyline, where Quicksilver was portrayed as a hero in a dystopian setting wherein his father helped the X-Men fight for their survival. While Quicksilver found himself being drawn to Storm, their potential romance did not evolve into a real relationship. Even though they felt strongly about each other, at the end of the day, they were both focused on their mission to restore world peace after Apocalypse managed to destroy the X-Men and the world at large. In the wake of this tragedy, Quicksilver was much more grounded in reality than his usual self, and Storm was also quite vulnerable, which allowed them to form a meaningful connection. Sadly, their romance fizzled out before it could turn into anything substantial, as they both died while fighting for peace. Slipstream. Also known as Davis Cameron, Slipstream was a regular surfer who joined the X-Men team as part of the Extreme X-Men story arc in the early 2000s. In fact, their first encounter was at the beach, where Storm ran into him while he was working as a lifeguard. They had a meet-cute of sorts, and Slipstream was booted off his surfboard by a shark when he first laid his eyes on Storm. While he was drowning, Storm ran to his rescue and used a bolt of lightning to restart his heart and save his life. As he regained consciousness, Slipstream immediately fell for this mysterious woman who just saved his life, and they had a brief romance while he worked alongside the X-Men. Sadly, this too did not go on for too long, and their loving relationship ended after Slipstream decided to leave the team within a year. Marvelous verdict. Ranging from her husband T'Challa to her other romantic interests such as Doctor Doom and Slipstream, Storm had truly had a wild dating life. While she excels in her career with the X-Men, she has also formed some interesting connections, so do tell us your favorite pairing in the comments below. As always, if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.